Y'all hang tight with me for just a second. I'm going to drop the rest of these links for somebody, and then I will dive into some charts. Alright everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a relatively short session compared to normal, just because it's later in the day and whatnot. So let me dive in, starting with Tesla, because I had a couple of people ask me about it, and I need to show you what we're looking at. So, Tesla, like we've been looking at the last few weeks, right? There was a bullish pennant set up in play. Again, staying unbiased with Tesla, I'm long shares, so I really would love to see Tesla continue to soar, but being realistic and looking at both sides respectively to make sure that I'm not ignoring any potential setups that are going on. So, Tesla, we had the bullish pennant going on here. It broke that ascending triangle to the downside, right? So, I'm sorry, descending to the downside, either way, right? What we wanted to see here is, could it hold this uptrend that it's currently running along, which is actually respected on the weekly, daily, 4 hour as well. And sorry, I know that the Tesla charts are very busy in here. I can make this look a little bit cleaner. This was actually, this green area here was the measured move of the breakout down below here, and you can see it perfectly tagged my measured move to the upside. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this finally so that it's not so much grayness going on in case we need to mark more price target levels. But as of right now, what do we want to see on Tesla? We want to see Tesla either hold this trend, this uptrend here, and move higher, and then potentially forming another bullish setup here, or Tesla is going to potentially break this trend and start filling gaps. Again, not being biased, looking at it from both perspectives, and ultimately what we had today, if you're looking at this from a technical standpoint, we broke to the downside of that pennant, we bounced at this level of support, and then we came back up here and we rejected at that same trend line and the same resistance level of the pennant. More importantly, the level that me and I know several other people that watch Tesla a lot have been watching is that 414.50 level. And if you're like, what is that? That is the previous all-time high level that has started to serve as a resistance on Tesla. So the important thing about that was we wanted to see that level held and respected on Tesla as a support and not broken and turned into resistance. But you can see here that is exactly what's starting to happen, is that the 414.50 level on Tesla has started to act as a resistance yet again. So if this hammer is bullish, that's cool. It got that bounce at support in the later session today. See, perfect little bounce off the support lines that are marked. But what we need to see here is, can it retake the 414.50 level and push to the upside? I've been really clear in a lot of the videos and streams lately. I'm not advocating anyone take Tesla calls or puts whatsoever. As of right now, the risk is too high for the reward potential that comes out of the options. There's way too many other tickers you can trade right now and get much better risk to reward turnout on those options trades without risking a lot of money in a single contract that you could wake up tomorrow and 75% of that be gone if Tesla decided to break this trend overnight with random news or Elon running his mouth, right? So again, trying to maintain this trend is bullish. That's good. I want to see that continue. But if we can't hold this retake level here, we break up down below that support, the measured move for that break of the support is going to put us down around that 345 gap fill. And then we'll see if that level and range can hold or not. So as I said here, we're looking to see if it holds the trend or if it loses the trend. But ultimately, as of right now, we're still trying to hold trend. If you look at the weekly here, we're going to see, right? First day of the week, we'll see how this plays out. But as of right now, looking at the daily and 4 hour, that's what we got going on with Tesla. In the chat, Matt's requested Celsius. I'll jump in some others after I cover these just because he requested them specifically in the live stream chat. But Celsius is trying to go for another breakout. It's got a nice little double bottom here. it was interesting, the movement today on a lot of the tickers. It seems like a lot of people went chasing calls later in the day and unfortunately got a bit trapped on some things. And that's why I typically will wait out and see how things move and see if we build any supporting trends. But you can see here we perfectly tapped the resistance level and rejected, right? So watching that accordingly, see what happens. If you look at the daily and weekly, Celsius could potentially move towards those higher end price targets, but it needs some buying volume and buyers just step in on it. So we'll see if that holds as a trend breakout and moves higher or not. What was the next one? Mara. I think Matt's interested in Celsius because we talked about it a lot on a couple of the Discords lately. And I just typed Matt in there because I read that. Sorry, Mara. Jeez. We scalped some calls on Celsius a few weeks ago and made really nice gains, and I've been waiting for a nice re-entry on it. So, Mara, crypto here. Before I dive into Mara, let's jump over to Bitcoin because we all know that's what's steering this shit. Remind me to look at Hood as well. Bitcoin. The setup I have been talking to people about is exactly what we're seeing play out. We got through the end of the year where people sold for tax loss purposes on crypto because there's no wash sell rule, and now all of a sudden people are rebuying on crypto, especially with the new administration coming into play here in a couple of weeks, so which is very pro crypto. So right now, what do we have? We have this bullish continuation holding true at this point if you look at the weekly. So what do we want to see? We saw the volume taper off with the selling, which was good. But one thing that we noted many times over the last few weeks was you'd see people sell off and immediately rebuy. Some people would sell off and they wait and then they rebuy. So now that we've entered the new year, people are past that tax loss harvesting, you'll start to see people that are buying and holding rather than buying and immediately selling. So we've got a breakout of a bull flag on the 1 hour and 4 hour here. I'm going to look at it on the 1 hour for you. So there's a bull flag formed here. We broke out to the upside. We are now forming yet another bull flag bullish pennant there. And you can see that on Bitcoin, we have broken out of this downtrend to the upside on the 4 hour and daily. So that is promising and looks good. What I want to see here is increasing buying volume step in. We might have the catalyst of the inauguration. We might have other catalysts come into play, but ultimately Bitcoin has got some nice solid volume coming in on the daily. So these are the measured moves still that it is playing out from that large cup and handle setup on the weekly and monthly time frame, as well as potentially a fresh bull flag breakout if this thing breaks out to the upside. So watching this to see what happens, but ultimately that is what's driving a lot of the movement that you see over on Mara, Riot, and some of the others. So Mara, ooh, this is really good looking on Mara. I didn't see this earlier today. On the daily for Mara, we're in the same. I'm going to delete this just so that it's out of the way and we can see this cleaner. So this is actually, if you look at the weekly, I bet this is a back test. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay. So what am I talking about? We broke out of this downtrend here, and then we are retracing to back test the downtrend, and we got our bounce on with that confluence of the downtrend line as well as the support zone. So what we want to see here is increasing buying volume step in, because right now the volume's a bit lacking on the weekly, which it's first day of the week to be expected, but that's two decent buying volume candles here. I think people are wanting to see whether or not Bitcoin's going to hold the move that it started to make now, but you'll see these crypto miners, like if you look right here, like lots of crypto ripping, right? But if you look at the crypto stocks, look at them. They're all ripping. Dang, MicroStrategy. Here, we gotta look at MicroStrategy real quick, because this is one that people don't understand how Bitcoin and MicroStrategy works, and they got hung up on the slight break of that downtrend like we talked about last week. But please forgive all those minor support and resistance levels there. We were scalping it at one point. I'll delete some of them just for cleanliness here, but yeah, MicroStrategy is going to be rocking again. So MSTY is a great way to get exposure if you want to hold shares on MicroStrategy, or not directly on MicroStrategy, but have exposure to MicroStrategy through shares and don't want to buy, you know, $379 in after hours shares. So MicroStrategy, if you do MSTY, it actually has a monthly dividend that's about 10% of whatever the stock value is, and that's a rough estimate. But I mean, look, this thing, people, I know Tony was talking about he wish he bought more when we dipped down to that 27 range last week, but MSTY is going to come ripping up too. MSTU look like? Because I saw a lot of interesting options on that today. So yeah, MSTU again, both these are derivatives of MicroStrategy, so take the technicals on MSTU and MSTY with a grain of salt. It's more important what MSTR is doing. So this is another one that I'm seeing lots of options flows on, so definitely good exposure there, but MicroStrategy is looking solid. You got the same vicious cycle where Sailor sells shares of MicroStrategy and then in turn goes and buys Bitcoin, which in turn sends crypto back up, right? So like, therefore turning MicroStrategy back up. It's like this vicious cycle that keeps happening over and over again. So yeah, definitely watching MicroStrategy here. If you want to go long on it, you can. I think MSTY is a better exposure point at this time, just because the monthly dividend is ridiculous and it will pay you, as well as give you exposure as the share price goes up without even having to mess with selling covered calls, which you totally can do that too. So that's what MicroStrategy looks like. Coin, I'm going to look at real quick because it also has a beautiful breakout and retest. If I look on the weekly, check this out. So we broke out at this pennant to the upside, had a nice big move there, back tested right here with the confluence of that downtrend and that support level and bounced beautifully on it. So what we're looking for here is continuation of this breakout of this downtrend and upside movement. Keep in mind what drives the movement of Coin and Hood and any of the other crypto related exchanges or brokers as compared to mining companies like Mara, Riot, and many of the others that you see on this list. So again, great opportunity to jump in. Ooh, that popped off nicely today too. So you're going to see similar patterns on lots of these if you're looking at them, but I want to jump over to Hood real quick, because Hood is getting the sympathy movement with crypto, of course, but it's also maintaining this beautiful bullish setup right now. So you can see here that Hood maintained that bull flag, right? We back tested there, but we got that awesome big bounce that took us back up. You can see we have increasing buying volume, which is something I want to see. If I see volume decreasing on the daily as we're heading into resistance, that makes me feel like maybe the buyers are getting exhausted, whereas here we're seeing the opposite. So ideally what we would see here is a big fat bullish continuation candle push through that supply zone that we previously had there. So I'll be watching that in the coming days to see what happens. I'm already long on calls. I've covered my cost basis. I'm riding runners at this point. Tonio said that 430 call, 110 expiry is psychological level. I mean, it is and it isn't. So here's what I do when I sell covered calls on Tesla. We'll jump and look at it real quick. I'm typically selling at a strike that is just above a resistance level. So, I mean, in this situation, if I want more premium, if I want something further out, because I'm not going to sell a weekly, I typically will stick to selling something 20 to 45 days out, just so that the theta starts to really spike in my favor. Like I alerted and sold some covered calls on Tesla last week that are still up nicely. What are they at right now? Let me look real quick. I can't find them. They're on the other PC. I'll have to go pull up the account separately and I'll let y'all know. But I mean, personally, what's the value of a $30 110 right now? Take a quick gander. $430, 110. Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't be. I know some people sell weekly covered calls, and I've done it in the past, but I wouldn't be selling a covered call for the $500 to $1,000 range on that. I don't think, just because you risk assignment if it does hold over that level temporarily, if it keeps bullish momentum. Whereas if you sell the ones kind of a little bit further out, like I've been doing, like I recently sold some February 21st ones, then you have a little bit more time to buy to close the position. So that's what I've been doing. It's just rinse and repeating on covered calls with Tesla and then taking those gains and adding to shares, which got me to 1,001 shares last year. So keeping that rolling, it's working out well. I'll be looking for a nice big pop to maybe sell off my last 3 covered calls. But real quick, I want to look at NVIDIA because that's another one that I'm getting ready to sell covered calls on my shares this week. and I wanted to see how it held the bullish breakout once we got the breakout last week. So you can see we completed this first measured move, pushed through that, which was great. I'm going to delete that. Now we completed it. And again, not biased, looking at both sides of NVIDIA, because overall, long term, I'm looking for a move up to that 175 level if we continue the bullish momentum in the breakout, but also being cautious and hedging my position long term with my shares. So watching this to see after we broke that downtrend, we got that move downside. So if we can remove this now because we completed that move, this is the movement range. I think off the weekly, I'll have to look back and see my notes, but yeah, that's what that was. That was if we broke to the downside with the rejection of this trend. So just to be safe, I'll delete it now just so that there's not any confusion. And we'll redraw the measured moves on this thing tomorrow once we see what happens with this candle. But NVIDIA tapped that previous all-time high today. Actually, no, it didn't, did it? Thought it did. Got close, but nope. So yeah, key level on this is going to be obviously the 150 psychological level, but if it rejects at 148.93 again, this was an after hours and pre-market, so I'm not so concerned about that. Same thing over here, I think. Yep. But definitely keep an eye on NVIDIA. I think there's a lot of hype at the CES conference and keynote today, which aligns with what we saw previously. Big pop leading into that, and potential sell the news situation coming out of it. Because ultimately a lot of the stuff that's being discussed isn't driving direct revenue impacts, right? So definitely going to be looking at this. I won't swing calls or puts on NVIDIA here as a buyer. Same reasons I won't do Tesla. But I will be looking for opportunities to sell covered calls to hedge my position on it. As well as if there's a scalp opportunity for calls or puts that makes sense, I might pursue it. But it has to really make sense. Like I need a monetary move that's going to justify a 30% plus increase in the option premium. And the option premium has to be reasonably priced. I'm not going to throw $1,500 at a contract on NVIDIA in this range. So watching that to see what happens. Next ticker on the list. Let's look at SPY real quick because people were asking about that in the other chat. So what did SPY do today? And I'll show you why I entered where I entered the puts. And why I'm not swinging, because there's big gain potential on things without swinging. We rejected perfectly this morning off that resistance level, and then also I started messing with a couple of other tools within unusual wells that are really valuable. And it's almost like it was a magnet for the options driving the movement there. So big tank there. Those options, I sold mine around 415% gains, but those 599 puts actually went right over 600% gains today. So great example of you don't have to try to hope and swing overnight with something to benefit from great movement within the range. You also don't have to enter right at open. Sure, I could have tried to scalp calls at open, but you never know until the formation of the trend actually plays out how it's going to hold. So great example of patience paying, where we waited and waited and waited until we saw a rejection, a reversal confirmation, as well as supporting options data, entered puts, took gains, right? Same thing over on IWM. And we'll look at the larger time frames on these, but I didn't enter IWM puts on the initial rejection. Rather, I waited, and once I saw the secondary rejection there, that's when I entered. So once we rejected and I saw the actual options that support the movement, rode those. I did trim those right at the support just to be safe, but those ended up going 490% gains as well. But yeah, I locked mine right around 200% because I don't want to be greedy. Entered the trade with a plan, trade the plan, lock the gains, right? So yeah, IWM, SPY, QQQ, keep in mind those are all being driven by the major contributors. So I didn't trade any QQQ options today. But here's what I was watching on QQQ this morning. I didn't want to swing anything on QQQ just yet, but I wasn't loving this rejection at the downtrend. And let me redraw this using the ray so that it's a bit cleaner. So it's going to try to get the breakout of the downtrend. It's also trying to retake this uptrend that it broke down from. You want to be careful on this kind of thing, because if you look at this on the weekly, and again, not being bearish, looking at this completely unbiased for what it is, that is a downtrend or a break of uptrend on the weekly, a bounce, and a retest and rejection on the weekly at that confluence of the uptrend and that resistance level. So Again, not actively swinging calls or puts on QQQ here, keeping in mind that the top weight contributors are driving the movement here. Just something to keep an eye on here if you are considering trading anything on it. Also, now we've got this gap now lingering at 519.65. We'll see what happens. It's got this breakout of the shorter term. Actually, didn't completely break out, did it? It looks like it rejected right at it. On the daily at least. 4 hours looking like it broke out, but that line was drawn on the daily. So same thing here from bullish standpoint. If this holds and it gets buyers stepping in tomorrow, you could have a breakout, retest here, and bounce. It would also be retaking that uptrend level if it can do that, but be careful here as well, because if I recall, there's still potential head and shoulders in play on QQQ and SPY. Again, not actively recommending trading swing puts or anything like that based off the head and shoulder setup that's in play, but something you want to keep in mind. Like, you should be looking at both sides of the perspective to be a smart trader and hedge accordingly, right? If I could click the right thing, would be good, right? Here. Yep. Sorry, reading over here on the other screen while clicking through this stuff, because someone else requested another ticker, so I want to make sure I cover everybody's bases. Okay, we looked at QQQ, SPY, IWM larger time frame to kind of chime in on something Tony and Hal were talking about. This is still in play, and that's why I'm watching it. I'm not actively trading puts on this thing by any means until I get a confirmed breakdown, but this bear flag is very much still in play on IWM right now, because all we did today was retrace, reject off the resistance level, and now close back within the same pattern. I mean, you could even technically, if you want to, move this up. I'm not going to. I'll leave it where it is for the time being, but that's a valid bear flag pattern, potentially forming into a bearish pennant, but looking more bear flaggish at this point. So we'll see if it breaks down to the downside. Did we fill the gap intraday on IWM? Yeah, we did. If y'all are trying to figure out what I'm talking about here, this gap was on the daily this morning and it filled. So I'm marking it as solid purple now. I like to leave those because gap fill levels tend to serve as historical support and resistance levels over time. So definitely watching that on IWM, see what shakes out. Let's see, what's the next ticker on the list? Sorry, checking 3 different discords at the moment. Oh, Hal, thanks for deleting that embedded, dude. My bad. Go delete on the other one real quick. There you go. Links there without the embedded. That looks better. IWM, we covered that. Hood, we covered that. Coin, we covered that. Ooh, Mobileye. Yeah, Mobileye calls that we're swinging right now hit new highs today. And it's maintaining its bullish setup, so I'm riding. So check it out. Bullish setup playing out beautifully on Mobileye right now. We entered this thing back over in this range. So that's looking good. Y'all remind me here in a few minutes to look through some of the cryptos real quick, because I want you to see the levels of where we entered and how that's respecting. What is that, Tony? 531 is near resistance, man. Sorry, I was checking on the kids outside there playing with my wife. Yeah, Mobileye's looking good here for bullish continuation. I want to see if it can hold that breakout and keep moving up. As of right now, I've covered my cost basis on the call, so riding the runners until we see a reversal proven otherwise. SoFi. Yeah, SoFi. So check this out on SoFi, right? We still are trying to maintain this bullish setup here. Those calls we entered off the back test the other day hit nice gains today. So I'll keep watching this to see. I mean, those are already at, what, 41%? Yep. 41%, 29%, and they're both way far out. So that's a good example of some calls that one of those is $52 and one of those is $97, and it yields 29% and 41% gains. You don't have to trade $1,000 contracts to yield solid gains on stuff, right? So definitely other things to keep in mind as trading various tickers. You don't have to trade just big tech. You'll see me trade big tech, but when we're in ranges like we are right now in big tech, I stick to shares and ultimately short dated scalp trades is what I try to stick with. It's just overall a lot of the money from premiums on options for big tech, both calls and puts. You're swinging them, it's against you, which is the same reason I sell covered calls in the range. Let's see real quick. Next on the list that we have over here, what was it, Amazon? Yeah. Yep, so Amazon, remind me to look at Google too, if I'll do it right after this, so I don't have to remember. So breakout to the upside right, again, great example. You can trade without biases, right? And just because someone's got red on their chart doesn't mean they have a damn bias. So looking for bullish continuation here. Ideally, what I want to see on this breakout is a move above the previous lower high. You can see today we hit the lower high from before and rejected. So while we broke out above the trend line, for this to be an actual true breakout and trend reversal, we need to see a higher high above that last one. So we'll see if Amazon can push for that. If it can, measured move here puts us up at that previous high in that 231 range, as well as the bigger bullish breakout would put us around 240. So that's a good setup. I know Hal and some others are in long-term share holdings on Amazon, which is great. So that setup's playing out well for them. Google, I believe, hit our bullish breakout perfectly as well. Yep, perfectly. So you can see here the measured move I had targeted for Google on smaller time frame, which I think it tagged in the first hour. Yep, we're tagging it pre-market. Bullish breakout move on this was right to that previous 197.25 resistance level, and you can see it perfectly tagged that level and rejected. So this is why you trade the plan, get out after you hit the level on your plan. I'm not trading calls or puts on any of these big tech tickers right now. Just looking at true TA from both perspectives for people, because I've got a lot of friends that are in various long-term positions, whether it's calls or shares. So we've also got a nice inverse head and shoulders here forming in the pattern. So we'll see if Google can push out to the upside of this and move higher. I need to chart out the bullish pennant levels here for the higher move for people, but I'll come back and do that separately just because it's going to take more time. But I'll put this here so that y'all have this resistance level as well in here while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to drop a link to this trading view in the chat so that y'all have it. Y'all can all access it. It's publicly available. If you want my charts without having to zoom in on your phone or something, you're more than welcome to follow that link to get to them. So, let's see. Any others that we need to go through before I wrap up? I'll hammer through a couple of cryptos real quick just so that y'all have it, because I know several of y'all have entered some of the crypto with me on backtest that we had this past week. Man, look at Bitcoin dominance too. Exactly what we've been talking about. Like, alt season's not here yet. Alt season will be here late Q1, sometime Q2. Coming from someone that's been in crypto since 2017, and some of y'all know what I have at stake with crypto. So XRP going for the bullish setup here, trying to get the breakout again. Ethereum, somebody asked me the other day how I feel about ETH versus Sol and some of the others. I mean, I think Ethereum won't have as big of a move this go round as it did before, because it doesn't have the backing. What? No, that's not true. Sorry, I saw an alert for a crypto thing over on Twitter. Ethereum doesn't have the backing of all the miners like it had the last go round that was causing movement. So the more promising setup I see here is Solana, which you can see that we got a nice new entry for shorter term trading peeps, as well as one of my more active trading accounts. This isn't like a new entry, meaning I sold my other still long on my Solana I've had since 2023 that I got at like a ridiculously low cost basis of where was it? It's not even on the chart anymore. I'll have to go look and give it to y'all. But yeah, I mean, the bullish breakout once alt season kicks in for Solana is going to be nuts, and a lot of the crypto coins and tokens on Solana chain are going to be rocking. So that one's looking good. Doge going for another bullish pennant bull flag setup here. You can see we re-entered on that breakout there, rocking up to the upside. ADA, not one of my top cryptos by any means, but it's trying to get its breakout going on. Pepe, again, it's not alt season, so you're seeing some bullish movement with some of these, but you're not seeing like crazy big moves on altcoin stuff yet. Chainlink, Another breakout trend, looking good here. Stellar Lumen, again, just like when we talked about when we saw the big move the other day here, expected more crypto movement because people are shifting XLM from wallet to wallet. And now here we are with Bitcoin ripping up again. So looking good. Atom, backtest and bounce, looking solid. Bonk look like. Yeah, it looks alright. Turbo's been super tight range. A lot of these I won't trade with crypto directly because I don't actively trade most of my crypto. Instead, if it's short-term trading, I stick with trading leveraged crypto futures with like a 50x position or sometimes a 200x position to get exposure on the move. So yeah, Bitcoin ultimately looking good here. Looking for the breakout and push to the upside. Volume still looking great. Bull flag on the 1 hour still playing out beautifully, so we'll see what happens there. Any other things y'all need me to cover real quick? Let me check. I want to make sure I don't skip anybody. Covered that. Yeah, let me look at GameStop for you real quick. And for those that are like, why? There was some weird movement with some $50 calls on GameStop earlier today, and I wasn't the only person that noticed them. GameStop has maintained this bullish breakout, by the way. So you can see here the measured move is like $42. So the $50 calls aren't like in the money by any means, would be not the intent. But it was weird to see those come through on my screeners, as well as two guys over on Unusual Wells had it pop on their screener too. So definitely interesting to see some $50 110 calls flooding in all of a sudden on GameStop. I don't know if there's something in the works or what, but definitely something to keep an eye on here. And we'll see what happens. If I see something that makes sense, I'll jump in some too, but I think I still have some runner calls from the previous one. Let's see, somebody was asking about Chewy. Oh, it was Matt. I'm sorry, not Matt. It was Tony and who was it? Tony and Chris were talking about Chewy. And like Chewy gets a lot of sympathy movement with GameStop when GameStop gets its moves, right? But Chewy's also doing good things from a company standpoint too. For those that don't know, Ryan Cohen has been involved with both, either from a board member standpoint or a share standpoint. So Chewy getting its breakout on here, trying to push up higher. This is one that I've been scalping when I trade it. I haven't done a lot of swing trades on it yet, but I might venture back into another swing trade on it. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's see, make sure I don't skip any last minute ones that came in. We covered MicroStrategy already, dude. If you want to jump back to the earlier part of the video. Alright. On that note, let's see, any others? I've got another video I'm going to work on putting together for y'all tomorrow that's a bit different than the normal TA and chart reviews that we do, right? So be on the lookout for that, because I'm just going to upload it, but it's going to be more of an intentional, focused, actual vision. Call it meditation if you want, but more so of a vision, a planning, sort of a mindset shift for 2025 related to trading. So I'm going to work on recording that and putting that together, and I'll upload that for y'all. But it's going to be a good one, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe so you get notified when I do upload that video. But yeah, it'll be good. It's going to be, a little bit of that manifesting of what we want our goals in future to be, and it's going to be specific to each individual person. So I'll walk you through that on that other video that I'm going to record and upload. But be on the lookout. If I don't do it tonight, I'll upload it tomorrow. Not going to be anything fancy from a technical standpoint. It's not going to be anything fancy from a recording standpoint. Y'all know me. I keep it real and I keep it basic. So I will be uploading that. If there is anything else that comes up in the meantime, though, y'all let me know. In the meantime, y'all have a great time and evening with your family and loved ones. Have a blessed night, and let's make some more gains tomorrow. Thanks all.